Prince Harry is addressing those rumors about his real father. Princess Diana's former lover, James Hewitt.
James Hewitt, Prince Harry's real father, emphatically denies those claims.
So, something deeply unsettling appears to be unfolding around Prince Harry, as claims surrounding his alleged paternity and DNA results have generated intense reactions among royal watchers. The story has raised questions about Harry's family history, his relationship with the royal family, and what such a revelation could mean for his identity. While some believe the claims are sensational speculation, others wonder if there could be more behind the story. But what exactly are these alleged DNA results? And could they really change everything Harry thought he knew about his family? So, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal story, please subscribe. Harry's painful family rumor. So, here's where the entire story begins. For years, one deeply personal rumor has followed Prince Harry almost everywhere, refusing to disappear no matter how much time has passed. The claim suggests that King Charles may not be Harry's biological father, and that James Hewitt, the former British cavalry officer who had a well-known relationship with Princess Diana, could be connected to Harry's parentage. The rumor became persistent because people pointed to what they believed were physical similarities between Harry and Hewitt. Others focused on the timeline of Diana's relationship with Hewitt and began asking when it began. From there, what might have started as gossip gradually grew into one of the most uncomfortable stories surrounding the royal family. But for Harry, this was never simply another headline to scroll past. At the center of the controversy was his mother. Princess Diana had already spent years living under an extraordinary level of media attention. Her marriage, friendships, personal struggles, and private life were constantly examined, photographed, and debated in public. Even after her death, the interest in her life never truly stopped. So, when rumors began questioning whether Charles was actually Harry's father, the story reportedly felt to Harry like another attack on Diana's name and character, and that made the issue more painful. Harry has often spoken about how strongly he wants to protect his mother's memory. To him, Diana was not simply a famous princess whose life could be reduced to headlines. She was his mother, the woman he remembered for her warmth, affection, and the way she tried to give her children a sense of normality, despite the enormous pressure surrounding them. That is why the paternity rumors reportedly struck such a sensitive nerve. The allegation did more than question Harry's biological identity. It also reopened painful questions about Diana's marriage, private life, and the relentless media attention she faced for years, even after her death. But there was another part of the controversy that reportedly troubled Harry even more: the silence from the royal family. As the rumors continued circulating, Harry expected the institution to defend either him or Diana, yet there was no dramatic public confrontation. No definitive statement that made the controversy disappear, and no response that satisfied him. Instead, the speculation continued, and from Harry's perspective, that silence may have felt almost as painful as the rumor itself. When someone questions your mother's character and legacy, you naturally expect your family to stand beside you. But when that support never comes, the silence can hurt even more. You may start wondering whether protecting the family's public image has quietly become more important than protecting the people within it. So, the claim that Charles might not be Harry's biological father reportedly left him deeply disturbed and unsettled. But why did he take the rumor seriously instead of dismissing it? And what did he expect from the royal family in response to the claim? Let's find out. The reason for Harry's frustration. Now, this is where the controversy became more personal. Harry did not simply see the paternity rumors as another unpleasant story created by the tabloids. He believed the situation exposed something much deeper about the way the royal family handled difficult problems. As the rumors continued appearing in newspapers and online, He felt that the palace had done little to defend either him or his mother. Every new headline seemed to breathe life back into the rumor. Old. Photographs resurfaced, timelines were endlessly debated, and people kept comparing Harry's appearance with James Hewitt's. With each new claim, the speculation grew louder. For Harry, ignoring it became harder, because the story refused to disappear, no matter how many years passed. But what reportedly hurt him most was the silence. From Harry's perspective, the palace had the power and influence to challenge damaging stories whenever it chose to. Yet, when the paternity rumors involved him and his late mother Diana, he reportedly felt the response was far too weak. The silence, in his view, allowed the painful speculation to continue, leaving him wondering why nobody stepped in. To Harry, that silence sent a troubling message. He may have quietly wondered why the institution seemed so focused on protecting its public image, while appearing less concerned about the emotional struggles of the people inside it. And the more he thought about it, the more the situation reportedly reminded him of his mother, Diana, and the challenges she faced. Diana spent years living under the heavy weight of royal expectations. She was expected to follow strict rules, protect the family's image, and always appear composed, even when she was facing deeply personal struggles and overwhelming pressure behind closed doors. Harry eventually found himself describing a strangely similar experience. He had grown increasingly uncomfortable with the expectations surrounding royal life. He had developed a complicated relationship with the press, and he believed that the institution often cared more about controlling the story than understanding the person living through it. That connection may have made the paternity controversy painful. Harry was no longer looking at the rumor as an isolated attack. He saw it as another chapter in a much longer story involving his mother's suffering, the media's relentless attention, and what he believed was the palace's failure to protect its own family members. And at the heart of everything was an uncomfortable irony. Diana had been gone for decades, yet Harry still found himself facing painful controversies tied to her name, her legacy, and the questions surrounding her life that reportedly left him facing a difficult choice. The fact that the palace didn't help Harry find clarity about the rumors surrounding his paternity reportedly left him deeply worried. But what option was left for him? Would he continue living with the uncertainty, or would he take matters into his own hands and search for the answer himself? Let's uncover the details. Harry's breaking point. Now, this is where the story took its biggest turn. After years of watching newspapers revisit the same rumors, seeing old photographs analyzed again and again, and hearing people debate timelines surrounding Princess Diana and James Hewitt, Harry was allegedly faced with a choice. He could continue ignoring the speculation, hoping that it would eventually disappear, or he could try to find an answer for himself. Harry reportedly leaned toward the second option. The idea was simple. A DNA test could potentially settle the question far more clearly than years of headlines and public arguments ever could. Instead of allowing photographs, rumors, assumptions, and competing versions of the past to shape the story, scientific testing could provide evidence about biological parentage. But while the solution sounded simple, the decision itself was anything but. Imagine carrying a question about your own identity for years and suddenly having the opportunity to discover the answer. On one hand, there would be an enormous sense of relief. Harry could finally know whether the rumors were completely false or whether there was something behind them. On the other hand, certainty can sometimes be frightening. If a test confirmed that King Charles was Harry's biological father, the decades of speculation could finally be pushed aside. The endless comparisons between Harry and Hewitt would lose their power, and the questions surrounding Diana's relationship with Hewitt.
Princess Diana. She didn't know it at the time, but the moment she met James Hewitt, her life changed forever.
Would no longer carry the same implications for Harry's identity. But what if the result suggested something completely different? The consequences would be difficult to imagine. Harry would have to reconsider part of the family history he had always known. Questions surrounding Diana's private life could suddenly take on a completely different meaning. The royal family could face renewed public scrutiny, and the story could become one of the most explosive controversies ever associated with the modern monarchy. Harry's reported decision was not simply about silencing critics, it was about confronting something deeply personal. For years, other people had been discussing his identity for him. Newspapers had created theories. Commentators had examined photographs. Strangers had concluded his family without knowing what was actually true. A DNA test, at least in theory, could allow Harry to take control of that question himself. And during this difficult period, Meghan was presented as an important source of emotional support, rather than encouraging him to run from the uncertainty. She supported his desire to find clarity, regardless of how uncomfortable the answer might be. For Harry, the decision therefore represented more than a scientific test. It was a moment of choosing certainty over endless speculation, even though the truth waiting at the end could potentially change everything. Here's what happened. Harry was tired of living with a story shaped by rumors, so he decided to have a test. But what could the test mean for his closest royal family members? Could they be affected one way or the other by Harry's bold step? Let's dive into the shocking story. Harry's secret DNA test. Now, this is where the story becomes more intriguing. Harry eventually arranged the DNA test privately in California, away from the cameras, reporters, and intense public attention that had followed the paternity rumors for years. The account suggests that he wanted the process handled quietly because he understood how explosive the story could become if details of the test reached the media before he was ready. And while the procedure itself may have been straightforward, the emotional pressure surrounding it was not. For Harry, this was not simply about collecting a sample and waiting for a scientific result. It reportedly meant facing a question that had followed him for years and had become closely connected to his understanding of his own family. Whatever the result revealed, there would be no easy way to return to the uncertainty he had known before. So, the waiting period was therefore filled with anxiety. Harry reportedly knew that there were two possible outcomes, and both carried emotional consequences. One could finally bring relief and close the door on years of speculation. The other could force him to confront a completely different version of his family history. And while Harry was reportedly preparing himself for that possibility, concerns were allegedly growing within the royal family. The transcript claims that King Charles and Prince William were deeply worried about the decision. For Charles, the situation could have felt particularly painful. If Harry had chosen to take a DNA test to determine whether Charles was his biological father, the decision could easily be interpreted as a question about the bond between father and son. Even if Harry's motivation was simply to find certainty, Charles could reportedly have viewed the decision as a sign that Harry had doubts about their relationship. For William, the concern was reportedly broader. A DNA test connected to the future king's family.
Prince William is Britain's most popular royal after his grandmother the Queen, and future king.
Would have been almost impossible to keep out of the public conversation if the information became known. The British press could have seized on the story immediately, creating a fresh wave of headlines, speculation, interviews, and scrutiny surrounding the royal family. And that possibility reportedly frightened those closest to the institution. But Harry allegedly felt that the time for avoiding the question had passed. For years, Harry had watched as strangers debated his parentage, while he remained at the center of a story he never created. Eventually, he reportedly decided it was time to face the question himself, rather than let endless rumors continue shaping his identity. Whatever the answer might be, Harry was reportedly prepared to face it, because after years of uncertainty, he allegedly wanted something that headlines could never provide: clarity. So, Harry's attempt to confirm his paternity meant something different to him, his brother, and King Charles. But what was the result of the test? Was Harry finally at peace after seeing the result, or was he still baffled by some underlying issues? Let's find out. The answer Harry had been searching for. Then came the moment the entire controversy had reportedly been building toward. After years of rumors, painful questions, old photographs, and endless speculation surrounding Prince Harry's parentage, the alleged DNA test reportedly brought a long-awaited answer. According to the transcript, the result confirmed that King Charles was indeed Harry's biological father. The result should have brought an extraordinary level of relief. For Harry, the question that had followed him for years would finally have an answer. The endless whispers connecting him to James Hewitt could no longer carry the same weight, and the suggestion that Diana's relationship with Hewitt had resulted in Harry being born outside her marriage would be challenged by the reported result. But perhaps the most important part of the story was not the result itself. It was everything Harry had reportedly gone through before receiving it. For years, the paternity rumor had existed in the background of his life. Even when he tried to move forward, the story could return through another headline, another photograph, or another discussion about Diana and Hewitt. It was the kind of rumor that could never completely disappear because people kept finding new reasons to talk about it. So, finally receiving an answer should have been the end of the story, yet it reportedly created another set of questions. Why had the rumor been allowed to survive for so long? Why had the palace, with all its influence and access to information, apparently done so little to put the matter to rest? And if Harry had truly been carrying this uncertainty for years, why did he allegedly have to take matters into his own hands before getting the clarity he wanted? Those questions became almost as important as the DNA result itself. Because from Harry's reported point of view, this was no longer simply about proving who his biological father was. It was about how his family had responded while he was living under the weight of the speculation. He may have wondered whether someone could have stepped forward much earlier and said, in effect, "This is your family. This is the truth. You do not have to carry this alone." Instead, according to the narrative, the silence continued. And that silence reportedly left Harry with a complicated mixture of relief, frustration, and disappointment. The alleged result may have answered one question about his identity, but it could not erase the years of uncertainty that came before it. In the end, Harry was reportedly left facing a much bigger issue, not simply what the test had revealed, but why he had felt compelled to seek the answer himself in the first place. So, the paternity test reportedly confirmed Charles as Harry's father, yet he still remained very angry with his family. But is his anger justified? What were the reasons behind his anger toward his royal family members? And what decision did he make because of it? Let's uncover the details. What DNA test failed to address? But this is where the story becomes much bigger than DNA. Even though the alleged result reportedly confirmed King Charles as Harry's biological father, it did not erase the deep frustration Harry had developed toward the royal family. Instead, the experience reportedly left him questioning why the institution had remained silent for so long. For Harry, the controversy was reportedly never just about biology, it was about trust. Harry had already expressed concerns that the monarchy could sometimes put tradition, public image, and institutional stability ahead of the feelings of its own members. Because of this, the paternity controversy reportedly became another painful example of a much deeper problem he believed existed within the institution. Harry reportedly looked at what happened to his mother, Princess Diana, and saw a painful pattern. According to Harry's reported perspective, the royal family did not always do enough to protect her from that pressure, or make her feel supported when she needed it most. Then, years later, Harry found himself facing his own relentless media attention. The rumors continued, the headlines continued, the photographs continued, the speculation continued, and the palace remained largely silent. That silence reportedly became deeply meaningful to Harry. Rather than seeing it as simply a decision not to give the rumor more publicity, He allegedly viewed it as another sign that the institution cared more about protecting its image than addressing the emotional damage being experienced by its members. And that is where the controversy reportedly took on a much deeper meaning, even as the alleged DNA result provided an answer about Harry's biological father. It could not erase the years of uncertainty that came before it. It could not remove the headlines he had already seen or the questions that had followed his family for so long. Most importantly, it could not change how Harry reportedly felt about the institution's response. The issue therefore became symbolic. It represented, in his mind, the larger question of whether the monarchy truly understood what its members were experiencing behind the public image of duty, tradition, and stability. That belief reportedly became part of the thinking behind Harry's decision to step away from royal duties.
Prince Harry and Meghan step down from royal duties, will not be returning as working members of the royal family.
With Meghan and their children, he could build a life based on different priorities. One centered more heavily on privacy, family, and personal choice. So, the alleged DNA test may have answered one question, but it reportedly left Harry confronting something much bigger. Whether he wanted to spend the rest of his life protecting an institution he believed had failed to protect him and his mother. Here's what happened. Harry decided to stay away from his royal family because he felt they should have addressed the rumors about his paternity before he had to find out the truth himself. But is building a family around Meghan worth it? And why did the rumors survive through so many years of headlines? Let's uncover the emotional details. Harry's bigger battle with the palace. When all the pieces are put together, this story becomes about much more than an alleged DNA test. For decades, the paternity rumor has followed Prince Harry through different stages of his life. But the most important part may not be the rumor itself. It is the emotional weight that came with it. The controversy touched Harry's relationship with his late mother, Princess Diana, his understanding of King Charles, his distrust of the press, and his already complicated relationship with the royal family. According to the report, the alleged DNA test finally gave Harry the answer he had reportedly been searching for. The result was said to confirm King Charles as his biological father, bringing a sense of relief while potentially putting years of painful rumors, questions, and speculation to rest. But even with that, the result could not erase everything that happened before it. Harry had reportedly spent years watching the rumor return in different forms. Headlines appeared, photographs were analyzed, timelines were debated, and strangers continued discussing a deeply personal question about his identity. From his perspective, the silence from the palace made the experience even more difficult. He reportedly felt the institution should have done more to defend him and protect Diana's reputation. Instead, Harry believed the monarchy appeared more focused on protecting its public image than addressing the personal pain caused by years of speculation. To him, the silence was not just disappointing. It suggested that reputation mattered more than the feelings of those affected. That belief reportedly connected the paternity controversy to something much larger in Harry's life. He had already spoken openly about media intrusion and the heavy pressures that came with royal life. He also often connected his own struggles to what he believed Diana had endured. So the paternity controversy became another painful reminder of the cycle he felt determined to escape, protect his family from, and finally leave behind. Meghan's reported support became another important part of Harry's emotional journey. During a period filled with uncertainty, she allegedly encouraged him to seek the answers he needed while standing by him through the difficult waiting. That support reportedly strengthened Harry's belief that his future should focus on the family he was building, rather than the royal institution he was born into. For years, people have focused on one question: who is Harry's biological father? But the deeper story may be something else entirely. But why did this rumor become so powerful in the first place? And why did it survive for so many years? More importantly, how did constant speculation, media attention, and perceived palace silence shape Harry's feelings about his family? Those questions may ultimately tell us far more about Harry's journey than the DNA claim itself. So, what do you think about Harry's DNA test result? Was his frustration with the royal family justified? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.